There you go. You can dance to it too if you want to. Ah, yeah. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Topic Time with Harrison Young. And this very lovely afternoon in July 7th. It's a warm one out there. It's not too humid. Another Zoom interview. Boy, we've been going all over the place and with Zooms, and it's been so helpful. We have an author tonight down in the Constitution State of Connecticut. We had him scheduled a while back, but his son had an awards deal, so he had to do that. And that's awesome. I mean, you know, family comes first, obviously, but here he's with me tonight. But before we get to him, got to read these awesome Underwriters, and then we will commence per usual. So I want to thank Auto Country, king of the used car in Abington, #1 in the dealer ratings for Massachusetts for 2021. Been with me since the beginning, #1 in customer service. I got Lynch's Towing Auto Cycle Truck Center in Brockton, one number for towing, one number for projects. Always looking for new deals with heavy metal vehicles and metals parts for my pal Lynchy, and we got him in Brockton. We got Sweezy Fence Erectors in Whitman. We got Cycle Pros in Bridgewater. We got Royal Pizza in Raynham. They got a new menu, free delivery, organic dough and natural sauce. We got Radiologist 101 Barbershop in Brockton. We got John's Greenhouses and Florist Shop in Brockton. We got Brothers Auto Body in Whitman. They're a new one. We got Auto Town Auto Glass installed in Abington. We got the Gun Runner LLC in Middleborough, dedicated to your Second Amendment rights with customers and friends. We got Easton Fitness right in the Village Shops in Northeastern. We got Doggy Boutique, all breed professional grooming for dogs and cats, run by my great next door neighbor, Debbie Siddell in Brockton. We got Chapin Sheds in Whitman. We got Grant's Rental in Bridgewater. We got RW Carpet and Flooring in Norton, covering floors for 50 years. And we got Joe's Diner in Taunton. I want to thank you guys very much. Now, on that note, we'll introduce Mr. Charles, I can't even say, Rosenay. Rosenay, got it, cool. It almost sounds like Nayros and Pig Latin.
Well, I'll tell you, you mentioned my son's award event, and his name, my oldest son, is Harrison also.
No way, sweet. Harrison's rule, baby.
Yeah.
How old is he? He must be in high school, right?
Yeah, he's 17.
17, wow, fun age, I know. I was 17, 46 years ago. Crazy, right? Where does the time go?
Wow, in the blink of an eye.
I know. All right, well, you're an author. You're obviously a high-spirited gentleman. We talked to you a while back about getting you on the show, and now here you are. It looks like, from what I've seen, you generally write books. Well, it looks kind of like horror fiction. Is that correct? Let's talk about that. You tell me what you write, and we'll elaborate more.
So for many years, people thought I'm a big Beatles guy. I produce Beatle festivals since the 70s. I take people on Beatle tours to Liverpool, believe it or not.
Hold up a second. I got one question right off the bat. Did you work with them at all?
Not work with them.
By the way, I believe today, you say Ringo's birthday's today. Is he 80?
Today's Ringo's 82nd birthday.
82nd, wow.
And yesterday was the anniversary of when John and Paul met.
Okay.
But I used to do Beatle conventions. I used to co-produce them in Boston, and did many shows in Connecticut. So people always thought I would write a book about the Beatles.
Okay.
But my other love, Harrison, is the monsters. And
I can see that.
And well, I'm wearing a
Beatles sitting right behind you there.
I'm wearing a Beatles shirt, but I am so those are my two great loves. And during the pandemic, I said, well, I'm going to put together a book, but I'm going to go in a direction no one would expect. I have a lot of friends in the entertainment business, a lot of celebrities. So I put together the book of top 10 horror lists, where 100 celebrities gave me their favorite horror themes. William Shatner. Boris Karloff's daughter, Sarah, one of the Beatles, one of the Monkees, one of the Munsters, a rock and roll Hall of Famers, baseball Hall of Famers, really cool people. And it took me 2 years to get it out, but I love the process of, it's just so great having a finished book in one's hand. And better than that, it's doing great. The reviews on Amazon, phenomenal. So I thought, well, I'm very much into the paranormal. I have a partner who's a clairvoyant. He's psychic. He's the real deal. He can walk behind you and go to that tree, and he could sense if someone died in that area. He's got those powers.
Except for
And
one thing, we're not actually in the field. That's a green screen behind me.
don't tell anyone that. That's
Okay.
it. Don't give away all the secrets.
All right, I won't. You're right.
Him and I produced Paracon, which is a paranormal convention. The next one is
I guess it has something to do with only in Connecticut because CONN at the end, right?
very good, right? That's what we call the Paracon show. But November 12th and 13th, and maybe we can talk again before then.
All
we
right.
we are doing Salem Paracon.
Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Okay. I have relatives there. They're all witches. Just kidding. But they are. I do have relatives there.
They must be, on the other side of the family.
My
Anyway,
grandmother grew up there, so yeah. Okay.
so by doing that, I've come in contact with a lot of people who've had unbelievable experiences
Okay.
with things that are unexplained. I was never a believer. I said this stuff can't happen, even though I had experiences too. Well, I started collecting other people's firsthand accounts,
Okay.
their haunted experiences, their connections with ghosts and all that. And I put together True Ghosts of Connecticut. As you see, a lot of what I do is Connecticut based,
Okay.
but it's amazing because it's 33 or so chapters of people giving me true ghost stories that happened to them. It's not a history of a city. It's
Okay.
not a legend of a town. It's how they actually experienced what they experienced. And I, edited it. I made it a little more flowing. I embellished, their writing if they weren't really good writers. But, so for example, there's a Fairfields Asylum.
Okay.
And someone tells their experiences of when they went there. Someone else,
That's a mental hospital in Fairfield, Connecticut, right?
correct. That's
Right. I think-
absolutely right. And of course, you and I would both know about mental institutions, of course. And then there's an Ansonia Opera House where
Okay.
I went never expecting to have any kind of experiences. And I didn't until I looked at all my photos and I saw amazing stuff, including as you see on this cover, this is the Opera House,
Okay.
a shrouded figure in a
Oh, wow.
doorway. And
Okay.
that's amazing because every other picture I took of that same shot
Yeah.
is an empty doorway.
Wow. And you, right. So this came out in your picture. You didn't actually see the shrouded figure when you were there, though.
I
behind
did
you.
not. I did
Okay.
not. And there was no one on that level. So it wasn't
Okay.
as if someone jumped in there and it's not photoshopped. It's just unbelievable. And
No, it is.
it's not explained. So
Okay.
I'm just, putting together this book. It's just been a real treat. And it's really given me the inspiration to do a lot more writing and a lot more books. I've got a Beatles book coming out, a Monkeys book, a Turtles book, and hopefully sequels to these two books.
What about Stones and Who? What about those bands?
I love them, but I don't feel that I'm knowledgeable enough
Okay.
to route about either one of them.
I'm just thinking a lot of it sounds to me like you like the bands from the British Invasion, starting with the Beatles, but obviously there are plenty of other ones too.
No doubt. And,
Yeah.
we could go
Well, I
on.
think the Stones
forever.
preceded the Beatles over here they came here in 62. Well, they started their band in 62. I don't know about when they came here, but that's
Well,
cool. All right. You know what you like, and that's
I
awesome.
will share with you that the Rolling Stones' first hit, because they were a cover band playing mostly blues in London at the Marquee Club.
Okay.
And their first hit was a song written by John and Paul, because they saw them back and they went backstage and said, hey, let's throw together a song. And in about 4 minutes, they gave them a song called I Want to Be Your Man. I want to be your man.
And then they turned it to I Want to Hold Your Hand, right?
No, that's a
I mean, it's the same tune. It's the same
separate song.
melody.
Separate
Right?
song.
But it's a different song. Okay, I got it.
But anyway, so the Beatles definitely preceded the Stones, but you know
The
what?
Stones preceded the Beatles, right?
No, the
Oh,
Stones,
the Beatles preceded them. Okay, I'm listening.
but the Stones outlived the Beatles as far as
Okay.
they're still playing, 50, 60 years later. It's unbelievable that
It
Nick
is.
and Keith are still out there.
Yep.
Paul is still out there. He just played Fenway.
Yep.
Ringo is still out there. But as a band, as a group, the longevity of the Stones is unbelievable.
Yes.
And you've got the Who, and you mentioned them as well, with Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey keeping the flame alive, and they're
Yeah.
still out there as well.
I know, it's incredible. I'm still, one of the, probably a band that didn't, a great British Invasion band that may not have sold as many records was the Dave Clark Five. I always was a fan.
Oh, I loved the Dave Clark Five
Bits
so
and
much.
Pieces. That was my favorite song 58 years ago.
And they're a forgotten band. You know, we thought we'd be talking horror now, but you don't get me started. Dave Clark Five band with Mike Smith, who's one of the most underrated lead vocalists, put out hit after hit after hit. You know, they were a harder edged version of the Herman's Hermits in many ways because both bands were from England. Both bands were AM record hit makers, and neither one of them get the respect of, you know, of the bands like the Beatles, the Who, the Kinks, and so on.
Then into the 70s, you got Badfinger, and they were another great British band too.
Well, I will share with you that along with producing this paranormal convention, July 16th and 17th at the Ansonia Armory in Connecticut, I'm also producing the Fab Four Music Festival.
Okay.
And that's August 6th in Simsbury, Connecticut, which is north. It's not.
I know where it is. I've been through it. It's a great town.
It's not far from you. It's a beautiful town.
Yep.
And what we have 10 bands. One of the bands is doing a Badfinger cover. They're doing they're called Badfinger Boogie, and their whole set is Badfinger.
I remember finding out about you. I mean, that was 50 years ago. That's crazy, isn't it?
Great stuff. And there's one member who's still alive, who still tours. His name is Joey Molland.
Okay. You mean the rest of them are gone? I thought one of them died. I thought one of them took his own life in 1975. Tom Evans or something. And yeah.
Pete Ham was the original.
Okay. Pete Ham, right.
He killed himself.
Yeah, he was the one. Okay.
And then Tom Evans killed himself years later.
Wow.
And then the drummer Mike Gibbons passed away. So Joey Molland's the only living member. Just like Mickey Dolenz, the only monkey who's still around.
Right, yeah. Wow, that's better than you could say the Ramones. Wow, they're all deceased. Everyone, but of course they're American though.
And when you find a band that has the four members who are still alive, you just wish they got along and still toured as like the Rascals.
Okay.
You know, still alive, still well enough mostly to get on tour together, but you know what? They either don't want to or they don't get along. It's so sad. Aerosmith's still out there, right?
They don't get along, but that's the point. Even though they're still around, there's a lot of dissension. There has been over the years. And I've had guys on the show that played with Joe Perry and I've had three different musicians. There were interim musicians in Joe Perry's project band, which was in the early, even though this in the early 80s when Aerosmith was on a hiatus. Joe Perry started his own band called the Joe Perry Project, and three of the musicians are from the Boston area that were in it. And he played on the Leno show with them. I had a guy on that David Hall, who lives down in the Cape, and here in Massachusetts. I also had Charlie Farron on, who was one of the guys too.
You know Charlie,
Charlie, yeah, he the Charlie Fahrenheit. Plus, he had one of the sitting judges of America's oldest talent show, TV talent show, which is Community Auditions that originated in Boston. Then we had this guy Mac Bell. I had him right on here in Easton in 2020. He wrote a book. He performed with Charlie, with Joe Perry. Talked about it. We had a video of them performing together from 1983. It was awesome.
I'll give you my Aerosmith story. You'll appreciate it.
Oh, I love it. Go for it.
Boston. I don't remember the year, but George Martin, the Beatles producer, put on a presentation of maybe it was Sergeant Pepper's 20th anniversary. Maybe it was
probably 1987, right?
87, I think.
Yeah, 67 was the year that Sergeant. I believe that was the year of
Correct.
Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
So it was like maybe Boston Symphony Hall. I'm not really sure what the venue was, but I'm going to the bathroom and I'm doing my whiz in a stall, and I look over and I had to do a double take because Steve Tyler's next to me. And I think, wait, is this the opportunity to say hello, or do I wait till he washes his hands?
I would have waited too. Even I don't care who it is. If when you're doing that, if it was a co-ed bathroom and it was a beautiful woman in there, then maybe I'd say something, while I was en route. But if it's all guys, you got to wait. I don't care.
I didn't wait. I said, hey.
You couldn't resist, huh? I understand.
I'm shaking it.
After all, right?
Getting the last drop out, and I said, "Oh, so you're a big Beatles fan too?" And he looks over and goes, "Obviously."
That's always obviously.
Obviously.
There you go. You got it. All right. Let's talk about your books, though. Now you have some book covers that you want to hold up, and let's discuss them.
So the first one, was really finished and came out right after the pandemic.
Okay.
And it's the book of
talking about.
Yeah, the book of top 10 horror lists with 100 celebrities giving me their top 10 favorite horror themes. It's from Bear Manor Media.
Okay,
And it's available from them, from the publisher. It's also available on Amazon.
okay.
But I have a website where if people want to get a signed copy, people love autographed copies of books. They love it signed by the author,
I know, I wrote a book too, and I went around selling it back in the
right?
day. Books
I bet
like-
it was, I bet,
Published, but it was wild. It was a crazy, it's still out there.
I bet it wasn't horrible.
No, but there was some horrible stuff in there.
Yeah.
That's the way I like it, but okay, that's cool.
The website is www.
Yeah,
Book of Top 10, the number 10, Book of Top 10 horrorlists.com. So pretty much if you take off the www.bookoftop10horrorlists.com,
okay,
and the website has the links to getting it. But you know what? A lot of people were very surprised because if you see Frankenstein behind me and you look at the cover and you see all the classics, right? You see Boris Karloff, Bela Lugosi, Lon Chaney Sr., Lon Chaney Jr., King Kong. They said, well, where's Freddy Krueger? Where's Michael Myers? Where's Jason? Where's Chucky? And I thought, you know what? For my first release, for the first volume, I want to put the classics on the cover.
okay.
If I do another one, I can always put, more of the slashers on the cover. I knew I wouldn't get as many sales because of the younger kids who might love, those kind
Cool
of
stuff,
slasher
yeah.
movies might have grabbed it. But I felt in my heart, because that's what I grew up with, the Universal monsters,
Okay,
all those classics. So I put them on the cover. And you know what? It served well because when I go to conventions, people pick up the cover and they go, whoa, these are my favorites. And the question that comes up is, was King Kong, where's King Kong? Was King Kong a horror movie? And then
Tokyo.
well, no, that was Godzilla. But
Okay.
when they think further, they say, well, is Jaws a horror movie?
I would say so.
Of course, because you know what? It scares you.
Yeah.
Anything where you
That stuff happens in it, obviously.
right. When you sit in a theater and you get scared, obviously that's considered a horror movie. Some people picked The Wizard of Oz because they
Yeah.
were.
Well, they had some bad stuff, and bad stuff happened in The Wizard of Oz too, obviously. So The Wizard of Oz, I look at that as like almost like L. Frank Baum. He had a vision of what people's internal psyche is like about how they relate to their own environment and how they might veer off from it, in a dream world for a while, and there'd be good things and there'd be bad things, and then they'd want to come back home, and then it would make them realize like there's no place like home, which is what the theme of the film was.
That is the theme. And it all comes back when she's home and she sees all the characters. For me, that's the best scene of the movie.
Right, and plus they were all in a dream. You were there, you were there, you were there. I know.
It's funny we're talking about The Wizard of Oz, Harrison, because I left out a chapter because I didn't know it was called the top 10 elements of The Wizard of Oz that were not included that would give you nightmares. And it was like,
Well, I'd say with a flying monkey started picking up, taking the straw out of the scarecrow and doing all that stuff, and throwing, and then the witch was appearing every now and then on the trail on the yellow brick road. Those were
right. But those are the parts that you see, you hear, are in there. But
I see.
Let's take it a step further. Okay. Politically incorrect.
Always.
The guy in the beginning who turns out to be the wizard, who has his little cart,
Well, the curtain he has, man behind the curtain.
Right. He could have pulled.
You kind of look like him,
I watched.
Except you don't have the mustache.
He could have.
Horse of a different color. Come on in. Right? Yeah.
Right. So in this article that someone gave me as a list, in their mind, to make The Wizard of Oz a real horror movie, he pulls Dorothy in there behind his curtain, and then who knows what happens. There's the scenes that weren't made that could have made it more of a horror movie.
Judy Garland was a pretty girl at 17. So yeah, I can see that. That's how old she was when she did the film.
Right.
I know it's interesting. I heard they considered Shirley Temple for the role too.
They did.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they went with Judy
Well,
Garland.
I'm glad they went with Judy Garland. Definitely. She aced it. I mean, in every way.
The whole cast. And then you
Yeah.
think about, wasn't there an actor who was supposed to play the Tin Man, but he was allergic? Buddy Epson.
Buddy Ebsen, yes.
Was supposed to be the
Jack
Tin
the
Man,
Rapper on the Beverly Hillbillies. Yes, that's correct.
but he was allergic to the
He
silver.
almost died from that, and then when he was auditioning.
Right.
Wow, that's true. Wow, that's crazy.
And I think there was a pre film, a Wizard of Oz, even before that one, which
It
had,
was, yeah. It was written in the 19th century by L. Frank Baum. I don't know what L stands for, but the book
Yeah.
precedes the film came out in 1939.
right,
Half of the, 1/3 of it was in color,
Black
the
and
middle third, and the other, and the home scenes were in black and white. And I don't know
Yes.
if that was deliberate or because of the budget or whatever, because it probably cost more to make a color film back in.
that was deliberate. That
It was
was
deliberate, yeah, I guess it was. And it made
Yeah.
sense. It totally, worked with the film, definitely.
Effect. It was
Couldn't
brilliant.
get better special effects either.
Right. In
Yeah.
those days, it was, that was earth shaking to go from which a black and white, and then all of a sudden she lands in this, and it's color. What? This was unbelievable this time. But the one that came out prior to it, I think, was a silent movie, and Oliver Hardy was in it.
Okay,
Yeah. So
the previous version of The Wizard of Oz with Oliver Hardy?
That's
Wow, no kidding, that's amazing.
Google it. It's probably on YouTube
I-
somewhere.
The only members that have, the only
What's
members
your,
of the cast that
what's your favorite horror movie or monster movie of all time?
mine, let's see, that's a good question. My favorite would be Pit and the Pendulum, maybe, that's a good one.
Wow, Vincent Price classic,
Price, yeah,
produced by Roger Corman, and
Okay.
of course based on a book by
Edgar Allan Poe,
Edgar Allan Poe.
yeah.
And they did a lot of adaptations of Edgar Allan Poe's. Let's see if that made anyone's list, because in the book you can go to the back and you look at the films and it will tell you who selected it. I don't remember it being in here, but I may be wrong,
Okay,
because it's a classic and it should be in here.
it
But-
should,
Pit and the Pendulum. Yes.
yes, nailed it.
So 2 people, one picked the short story from 1942.
I read
and-
it,
And it was Julia Baird, John Lennon's sister,
wow,
picked the short story from 1842. And the film, which was made in 1961, The Pit and the Pendulum, a guy who I think spent a lot of time in your state, Elliot Easton from the Cars.
God. What about, what was he in that film?
No, he picked it. These are
Oh,
the
he picked it, of
the
course, right.
celebrities who
These are
picked
people, these are people that actually talk to you and get the picks to you.
gave me their top 10
Okay,
list. That's the theme of the book.
okay,
So yeah, when you go through the book and you look at, all these, like one chapter is Dennis Dunaway,
okay,
who was in Alice Cooper's band.
okay, but no relation to Faye Dunaway.
No,
Okay.
maybe, not that I
Maybe,
know
never
of,
know. It's a small
But-
world.
but he gave his top 10 list was his list of 10
Okay.
scary songs. So people had the flexibility to do their favorite lists. Another guy from the Cars gave us a great list, and that's Greg Hawkes.
Oh, Greg Hawkes, he's the drummer. No, the other guy's the drummer. Hawkes is
Greg
he's one of the keyboardists, I think.
Keyboard players.
Keyboardist, yeah.
And he gave us his favorite fright films and his favorite.
How did these celebrities reach you to give you these lists? Did you
They
just?
didn't reach me. I reached them,
Oh, wow, that's incredible. I'd love to get any of them you can get on my show. Would be great.
I know. This wasn't recent. This was all 10, 12 years ago. when
Well,
I-
still, I mean, if you could have contacted them there, you could contact them now, I would think.
I'll get you some goodies.
That would,
but,
that would be, wow,
Someone like Greg Hawkes, he actually was a guest at one of my Beatle expos.
bingo.
And he did a set of Beatles music on ukulele.
I think Elliot Easton knows about me because I interviewed a guy that runs a music store up here in Mass named Rick Santos, right here in Easton last year. And Elliot was helped out giving him drum lessons at his store,
Oh,
the town of Raynham, which is right next to Easton, which is where we are.
yeah. Elliot lives in LA.
Oh, yeah, right. I figured he lives in LA now.
Yeah, he's no longer in the area, but I think Greg Hawkes is, but
But because we got Zoom, we can go anywhere.
anywhere,
Yeah,
right? You
yeah.
could be in the most pretty park in the world where nobody ever walks by. It's amazing.
Well, a lot of people do walk at Frothingham, but this is a still shot of it, so it's not like, it's not.
I know,
Yeah.
I'm being funny again.
I know, you are being funny. Oh, so tell me about your history though, growing up. What were you like as a kid? When did you start writing?
Growing up, I was your typical pop culture nerd.
Good, yeah, I got it.
I loved everything monsters. I loved everything rock and roll. I grew
Was
up
in Connecticut growing up too?
No, I grew up in Bronx in New York.
Oh, yeah, you got a little of that dialect. Okay.
Yeah. I know I do. And I have that, effervescence. I have that energy.
Oh,
I grew up in the Bronx where mom really was the world to me and sat me down and forced me to watch The Bride of Frankenstein. And thank God she did, because I was hooked ever since. We
sweet.
watched Ed Sullivan together every Sunday because I wanted to see Topo Gigio, the little mouse. But
Okay.
of course, on February 9th of 1964, my world changed because the Beatles came on, and as everybody else, they
I was 4.5 then. How old were you?
I was a one.
Okay, you're a little younger than I am then. Hey, I'm getting old too. I don't feel it though.
No, so I always say my first memories in life was seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan and watching A Bride of Frankenstein with my mom. And my parents were so good about, they would buy me all the albums as they came out.
Okay.
They would buy me these 8mm films, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. And I collected all that stuff. I never threw it out. I was really good about that, and they didn't throw it out. Even
Cool.
when we moved to Connecticut, the only thing that didn't make the move was the original monster models. I don't know if you remember, they used to make the Aurora models of each
I
monster.
remember, yeah, I mean, in the store, in the toy store.
This is going to blow your mind.
Okay,
When I was
can do that right now.
almost done with this book, I
okay,
found a picture of myself
sweet,
in my room, in
Okay.
my pajamas,
okay, as a kid,
and I'm with all the monster models that I built, and on the back wall is a poster of the Beatles.
sweet,
And that
Beautiful.
summed
really
up
meaning,
my childhood.
sweet, you just did, I got it. Well, guess what, guess what, Charles, we're under 5 minutes now.
That's so cool, because I'm going another 50 minutes. I don't care.
Oh, I know, but we gotta sign off, because I gotta eat, I gotta go home.
Joking.
I hope you had fun. You seem to be having fun.
I always have fun, and you're fun. You're easy to work with, and I'm gonna look
Not bad
forward.
for a guy with autism, huh?
No way.
Yeah, I know, I had to believe, yes, I have it.
I thought you had Eugene Levyism, because
I
that's
know, I've been working it, so it comes out as Eugene Levyism, but yes, I do have it.
that's who you resonate. That's what I'm feeling
What
here.
do you think of Sarah Silverman, the comedian?
I think that I love her.
She's my cousin.
My wife hates her because
Okay.
because one award show she insulted too many
Tells
people.
everybody, she's my cousin. I'm still waiting for her to insult me.
Really? Have you ever had her on the show?
No, I haven't had her on the show, but I met her. She knows about the show. I wish she should do the show. Maybe at some point she will. Again, we got Zoom now.
Yeah. Well, I need to get her to get a top 10 list for one of my future books.
Well, I'll reach out to her the same way you reached out to all those other people. All right, look. So here's what I'm going to ask that you do. Look at the camera real quick. Give shouts out to people that are going to see the show, family members, friends, and then we'll wrap it up with my music the way we began it.
Oh, so exciting. Glad to be on Harrison Young Show. I really look forward to meeting him in person someday, not just by Zoom. And hopefully everyone who's watching and listening and tuning in will look to get a copy of the book of top 10 horror lists or both. The True Ghost Stories of Connecticut. Both are on Amazon. And you know what? You're going to love them. They're just fun, scary books.
And I couldn't have met a cooler guy to write them either. All right. Well, again, if you had fun with me, I want you to again give my digits to anybody that you think might be an interesting guest, famous or not. Have them contact me, and we'll set it up.
Sounds great.
All right, Charles. Look, I have one favor left before we wrap it up. After we're done with the production, will you sit around and do a couple of pictures for Facebook? I'll tag you in them, and you can tag me if you want.
Perfect.
All right, great. All right, folks. Thanks for watching Top Time. Another great episode about to conclude. See you next one. Take care. Have a good one. Bye-bye.